Hey everybody, Tekking101 here doing another anime tag episode, anime tag take 3 as a matter of fact. This time I was tagged by HadouSenGoku, and this time I'm really excited for this one because as the previous anime tags were a series of questions, this one's a little bit different. It's a top 7 list, and we're going to be talking about something really cool today, guys. Swords. Ah yes, the sword. Elegant cold steel. Probably the simplest of all weapons that mankind has ever come across. Except for maybe a rock. But the interesting thing about the sword is that no matter who you talk to, they'll probably already have the same opinion about it. For example, if you like anime and manga and you think about swords, probably the next word you're going to think of is badass. Now, conversely to that, if you're not a fan of anime and manga and you think about swords, probably the next word you're going to think of is still going to be badass. Yes, it's really just one of those time-tested things that will just never cease to be cool. But who is the best? Who is, in my opinion, the greatest of clashing steel among all others? This video is Tekking101's top 7 best swordsmen and swordswoman, girl, whatever, of anime and manga. Let's go! Number 7. Seiko Busujima from High School of the Dead. Okay, I have talked about High School of the Dead on this channel many times before. In fact, I have 2 whole videos devoted to just talking about that one particular anime. But in case you haven't seen High School of the Dead, let me fill in basically 2 things you need to know. Number 1, there is fan service. And I mean a truckload of fan service. Every single scene there is girls fighting zombies, and... okay, whatever. This about swords, man. That's another video altogether. Anyway, the second thing about High School of the Dead you need to know is that the characters in the series make physics their bitch. Don't believe me? There are multiple times in the entire series where people jump like 20 feet in the air and land perfectly fine, and the acrobatics are just insane. No more so than Seiko Busujima. She is the resident swordsman in the group, and for the majority of the series, managed to kick a bunch of zombie ass using nothing but a wooden sword. That is until episode 9, when she finally got her hands on some real steel, and, well, aside from becoming the blood-soaked goddess of everything awesome, she also kinda, sorta, well, got off on the whole ordeal, which just kind of made her more awesome in my opinion. But despite how awesome she is, the whole physics thing is kind of, it does get kind of annoying at times. Like there's, prime example, episode 5 of High School of the Dead, Seiko is fighting zombies on this bridge, okay, and she gets cornered. And this other character rides up on a motorcycle, and what they do is that Seiko puts out her hand, guy on the motorcycle puts out her hand, when they pass by, she grabs his hand, flings her, manages to propel her like 20 feet in the air. She does about 6 or 7 spins with a panty shot, of course, because like I said, fan service. And she lands on the ground and like wipes out like, you know, like a whole group of zombies at once. Now, of course, if this was in real life, as soon as they grabbed their hand, the guy would have wrecked his motorcycle and they both probably would have dislocated their shoulders. But it's anime, I guess suspended disbelief, but once again, this is just a little bit too much, so that's probably why I put her on the 7th spot on the list. But still, Seiko Busujima, kick-ass, lady, kick-ass. Number 6. Kirito from Sword Art Online. Okay, this is probably the most recent addition to the list because I actually just saw Sword Art Online fairly recently. I just finished watching the anime fairly recently. And I have to say that I probably put Kirito this low on the list because technically he's not really a great swordsman. He's great at playing a swordsman on virtual reality MMOs, of which the entire series is centered around. Yes, in fact, there are actually 2 VR MMOs that Kirito became an expert at playing throughout the course of the anime series. One is the titular Sword Art Online, and the second one is Alfheim, the Land of the Fairies. wait, he was playing a fairy? No, that's ridiculous. You cannot make this look awesome. Oh my god, he just made that look awesome. Regardless of whatever game he's playing, Kirito always manages to find a type of black sword that is his primary weapon while playing the game. His signature skill in Sword Art Online, in fact, was using dual wield, which that might not sound that interesting, like, oh, dual wield, because a lot of MMOs nowadays have a feature like that. But when you look at the fact that the only way you can access the dual wield ability in Sword Art Online is to have the fastest reaction time, Kirito's expertise really shines through. In fact, there's even some cases in the entire series where he's not even in the game, and he's able to use bladed weapons with somewhat proficiency even in the real world. So, I think that's even just a bonus of having VR MMO technology. Basically, you can train in the VR world, and when you come out, you'll still have somewhat of skill in using weapons. So, you know, we need that to happen. We need VR MMOs to happen in like the next 10 years or so, because I don't even need a reason. They just need to happen. So yes, Kirito, here's to probably being the best MMO player ever. Number 5. Urza from Fairy Tail. Oh, wow, Urza from Fairy Tail. Now, I know a lot of you that have seen the series are probably thinking, like, Urza is more prone to using types of armor than she is types of swords. Along with that, her Daedalus counterpart, Urza Nightwalker, is the one that uses a lot more weaponry. But Urza's Heaven Wheel form has so much badass just contained in that one armor. I really don't care what other weapons she uses. So get this. This armor, which is also, I believe, like the first major armor we see in the series, gives her a giant metal appearance, huge freaking wings, and the ability to produce swords out of thin air using her magic. So, at one point in the series, I think she even produced close to 200 of them all at once. So yeah, because of that, and also the fact she's my favorite Fairy Tail character, certainly merits her a spot on this list. Although, one thing I never really understood about Urza, all of her armor is, you know, like, the whole point of armor is to protect yourself against certain attacks. So, why does all of her armor, most of it anyway, end up showing a massive amount of Oh. Why was I complaining about that? Continuing. Number 4. Ginichimaru from Bleach. Alright, so when it comes to Bleach, an entire series that is centered around characters that have awesome swords and different variations of awesome swords, I pretty much realized right away I can only pick one. Now, you know, obviously probably some of you are going to be mad, like, you didn't pick Kenpachi, you didn't pick Byakuya, you didn't pick Ichigo, why'd you pick Gin? He's actually dead. Well, see, the thing is with this contest, I wanted to pick somebody who uses as close to a traditional sword or swordsmanship as possible. Yes, Byakuya is pretty cool, but the whole spreading blades into cherry blossoms that cut your opponent up, not really typical sword use. You might be saying, why did you pick Kenpachi? Kind of like the opposite, like, okay, yeah, he has a sword, and it is just a normal sword, but at the same time, it's just a normal sword. It's nothing really that special. Ichigo has Getsuga Tensho, so then I really sat down and think, who is like the character that has like probably closest to most normal sword release, and is yet still managing to be awesome in every respect of the word? That would be Gin. So Gin's Shikai and Bankai releases are actually fairly simple. His normal sealed release form of Shinso is a normal wakizashi like this, and when he releases his Shikai, he's able to extend his Shinso up to 100 swords lengths. So right there, you know, you can basically any kind of combat right away. Like, he can increase his sword just a little bit so it's a katana or a long sword, or he can pierce opponents from literally, you know, several yards, several meters away just by like piercing like this. So right away, that's awesome. His Bankai, on the other hand, is a little bit more harder to gauge because it was later on revealed in the series that he was actually lying about his Bankai's ability, but his Kamishini no Yari, his Bankai, he originally stated that the sword could extend 13 kilometers, as well as that it can also extend faster than the speed of sound. Like I said, that's not exactly true, but he probably didn't measure it, but at the same time, it's probably very, very long. He was able to slice an entire town in half just by swinging his sword, and he was also able to kind of like throw Ichigo off on the speed. So it might not be that fast, it might not be that long, but still, it's pretty damn long and it's pretty damn fast. But that's not the real power of his Kamishini no Yari. The real power in revealed against his fight against Aizen is that it actually is able to, when it extends, it turns to dust very briefly, and then it becomes back to a solid. So while stabbing someone, he has the option of leaving a small sliver of his blade inside of the person's body. What's the advantage of this? Because his blade is also essentially made of poison that will dissolve your cells in an instant. So yeah, Ginichimaru, pretty solid spot for number 4 if I do say so myself. Number 3. Roronoa Zoro from One Piece. Alright, when it's coming to One Piece, I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate mail right off the back for including Zoro and not including Mihawk in this one. Alright, let me tell you something right now. If this list took place before the time skip, I would probably have put Mihawk in the number 3 instead of Zoro, because Mihawk would have been more stronger at that point. And you might even argue, I mean, we haven't even really seen Mihawk at this point in the series yet, and after the time skip, but you could probably still argue, yeah, he's probably, I mean, he probably didn't teach Zoro his strongest techniques. He's probably stronger than Zoro. But up to this point in the series, all we really had to gauge Mihawk's strength, because we didn't really see him in battle that much. When he was first introduced, he sliced a galleon in half. Okay, sold. Zoro did that at the beginning of the time skip, so right away, that much is evened out. Along with that, we also had his fight against Whitebeard Pirates, where he attacked with a giant slash, and Jozu was managing to block it with his body, so we didn't really see the full extent of that. He fought Luffy very briefly. We didn't see much of that, so honestly, Mihawk's abilities, aside from him having a badass sword and him probably learning hockey, aside from that, that's not really much of an issue. Zoro, on the other hand, we saw him slice a galleon in half, and he, as well as that, we also saw him fight in many more battles than we saw Mihawk, so I'm going to go with Zoro here just because we know more about his abilities. So for those of you who are currently not living on this planet or in this field of existence, Zoro uses a special kind of sword style called Santoryu, or three-sword style. He has one sword in his left hand, one sword in his right hand, wait, flip that, and one sword in his mouth. Now, despite this might sounding very silly and probably very bad for his dental work, he is able to use this style to great effect in pretty much every battle he's been in, using such pun-related techniques such as onigiri and tiger trap and such and the like. So it's really cool. Although I never understood, like even while reading, like watching the series now as more of an adult as opposed to watching it when I was younger, I never really understood the momentum of him putting the sword in his mouth, like how are you exactly going to cut anything with this? It's like what I mean, you would lose grip instantly. So either Zoro uses some kind of special jaw muscle building technique, which probably does. I just never understood that, but it's still cool. Number 2. Killer Bee from Naruto. Okay, whereas Zoro had his trademark Santoryu or three-sword style, Killer Bee has an 8-sword style. And this is just wicked. I can just totally see that Kishimoto was reading One Piece and he's just like, oh, 3 swords, huh? That's pretty cool, but I can go one better. So that's when we have Killer Bee. Killer Bee doesn't really use his swords that much anymore in recent chapters because, well, they're in a massive melee right now. But whenever he does use them, you be afraid and you be scared and you run hiding to your mother because the way he uses it is incredible. He puts not only one in each hand, I don't even know if he uses one in each hand, but he basically uses every single joint in his body. So, you know, put a sword here, put a sword up here. He manages to always balance one up right between his shoulder and his head, has one in his mouth, he uses one of his legs. So, basically, he has this 8-sword style while only using one leg to balance on, while bouncing all over the place like a spinning top of razor-edge doom, and basically cut down anything in his path. Sasuke got his ass handed to this guy the first time they met. And may I remind you, this was at a point when Sasuke had the Mangekyo Sharingan, although he didn't use it until much later, but he still had a very advanced Sharingan at this point, so even he wasn't able to read his movements. If that's not enough for you to merit Killer Bee being number 2 on my list, get this. He also has access to the 8-Tails Ox, which is basically an ox that has octopus tentacles for some reason. So this means that pretty much if he loses his swords or if he wants to increase his range, he can just produce octopus tentacles from pretty much anywhere on his body, grab a sword and just swing it around. So that increases his range indefinitely, and basically if he loses a sword, he can get it back very quickly. Is that not cool enough for you? Well, get this. He's also a master of Raitun, or the lightning release. So he can charge his sword with lightning and increase its piercing power indefinitely, as well as cancel out other electrical-based attacks. Is that not awesome for you yet? He also has recently obtained the Samehada, which is the sword used by Kisame Hoshigaki, one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. This technique basically is a massive shark skin sword which basically shaves an opponent to death rather than slice. And also it's been shown that he's also been keeping his other swords inside of Samehada's mouth because it's also a sentient creature. Is that not enough for you yet? Well, okay, that's basically all he is. So if that's not enough for you, then you need to just go away because you obviously have no concept of epic. And the number 1 best swordsman in anime manga, in my opinion, is... You wanna know who it is? A lot of you probably aren't even... most of you are probably not even going to be able to guess, okay? Alright, I'll give you a hint. Number one, it's not a common swordsman. In that case, he does not use a sword in every single battle he fights in. In fact, for the majority of the series he's in, he only uses his sword about twice. It's also an older series. It was released in the 90s. I'll give you a couple seconds here because you're probably when I mention it, you're probably going to know right away. But you're like, oh, that's it. Okay. It's Trunks from DBZ. Now, really, the only reason I picked Trunks is because of more of a sentimental reason. See, a lot of people that are around my age, like 18, 19, 20, you guys probably grew up with Yu Yu Hakusho, DBZ, so, like I did. So, my main focus for number one was either Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho or Trunks from Dragon Ball Z. Now, I had a long, very difficult decision between the two because, you know, Hiei, I mean, I saw Dragon Ball Z first, I saw Trunks before I saw Hiei. But he is also so cool because he is also wicked fast and he can cut a demon down in like speed blitz, like not even time to register. On top of that, he also has a third eye. But I went with Trunks because Trunks is something that when I first saw Trunks, the feeling was indescribable of excitement and just awesomeness. Okay, let me put you in my mindset as like a 6-7-year-old child. Okay, I started watching Dragon Ball Z when it was on Toonami, probably around close to the tail end of the Namek saga. So I witnessed Goku turn Super Saiyan for the first time. I witnessed him completely own Frieza. I witnessed Mecha Frieza, which I thought that was pretty cool. But then all of a sudden, one time when I sat down in front of the TV one night at 6 p.m. or whatever, turned on Toonami, and witnessed the first appearance of Trunks, this awesome, mysterious character who can also become Super Saiyan, and on top of that, used a sword in combat. You know, up until that point, DBZ was just this, just fists and energy blasts. Like, no one ever used a freaking weapon, hardly ever. You know, and weapons were actually considered kind of weak because, you know, like there was guns and stuff, but guns were useless because you can just, like, bat them away. Any other kind of bladed weapons, like in Dragon Ball, they were useless because, you know, Goku just, like, grabs, like, freaking bends the sword. He doesn't care. So weapons were actually kind of seen as inferior, or, you know, like weapons in Dragon Ball Z. And then all of a sudden, we had this character that was using a sword, and he's so he's like on a freaking warpath, cut Frieza down in one move. And then that's when I just started discovering, like, damn, I actually started thinking, like, if Goku or if any other weapons was in Super Saiyan mode and they used weapons, that would even increase their proficiency tenfold. I mean, it just makes sense, right? So, yeah, Trunks I just picked for a sentimental reason for me. I was actually kind of disappointed because, you know, he uses his sword, kills Frieza, takes out King Cold, and then after that, after he fights the androids break it, and I'm like, whatever. But, you know, it was awesome while it lasted. In the mindset, that's probably like one of the fondest memories I have from my childhood, witnessing, you know, Trunks KO and freaking own Frieza and King Cold for the first time. That is something that I will never forget. So yeah, that's my top 7 best anime and manga swordsmen. You're probably going to disagree with some of them, but once again, my opinion. This is an anime tag video, but honestly, all the people that I wanted to tag kind of already got tagged, so I'm going to do something crazy and wild here, and I'm not going to tag anybody. Sorry. I really got nothing. I'm a failure. See you guys. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. Can I tag a Pokemon? No? Sorry, Vanillite. Hate freaking Vanillites.